Hi there, my name is Jay Lapoule with Server Matter and also with CompuMatter. And the purpose of this video is really for myself in the future to know how the Ansible script was written that will go out to the target server, detect any hard drives that are not ZFS drives, and format and mount them to a directory so that we can use it for our backup software that is then populated on that same Ansible target server. But in the process of doing this, I realized this could be of value to other people in the Ansible community on drive detection and formatting remotely and so on. So I've decided to go ahead and put this out there as a YouTube video that will benefit others. So let's take a look. All right, so there's two parts here. Starts off with an Ansible script, which copies a bash script to the target server, runs it, waits on the feedback, and then makes some decisions as to what to do next from there. So the first thing we do is we copy over an SM detect backup drive script, and we go ahead and run it, and then we wait for the shell output to be returned to the script. Let's go over the script a little bit here. In the process of calling this script, we do pass along the data drive backup path. That's just a directory name. Whatever directory name that you want to mount to your drive, that's what goes in here. You can change the name of the variable if you wish. Coming in, we pick up that directory name from that first variable, and we see if it contains a directory called lost and found. If the directory exists and in it is something called lost and found, we know that this directory has already been mounted, so we want to return a message that says the directory already exists and has data in it, requires manual intervention. Moving down the script a little bit, we build an array of all disks on the system, whatever they may be, as long as the word dev is part of it. And then we initialize an array for non-ZFS disks, which we're going to build on when we run this function that you see below. That function is run here. We iterate over each disk in the system, we run the function, and we build an array of non-ZFS disks. We're only hoping for one. That's all we want is one. If there's more than one, we're going to discuss that in a minute. Okay, so here we have our potential results. The first one is no non-ZFS disks are found. Now I want to be clear. In our case, we're looking for non-ZFS disks because we're not using ZFS on our backup drive. We have an array of ZFS disks for the data, or maybe the data in the operating system. But the backup drive, we're not putting ZFS underneath it to have a redundancies. They're just overhead and unnecessary as far as we're concerned. The other possibility is it returns a single disk, in which case we know that's the backup drive. The third use case is it identifies more than one non-ZFS drive. So we may have the one that we planned on that we've got via SATA cable, it's in the system, but somebody's got a USB flash drive that has maybe their crypto keys on it stuck on the side for some reason, and we don't want to format that just because we decided to pick what drive matters. We're going to return a message that says, please remove any other drives that are plugged into the system that are not the backup drive, because we've discovered multiples. Okay, so those are the options. We're now going to go back to the Ansible script and see how we handle that. The first one is we detect that a directory is already mounted. Let's show the message. We're going to echo that in a debug statement, and so that they know what's going on. And then we're only going to run these other commands, excuse me, if that wasn't the case. So in this case, we're assuming that a drive is not mounted. They're going to be in this block. We're still going to check to see if the word fail is shown in any of the standout. You'll notice in any of these messages we have here that our fails, the word fail is part of it. So we pick up that string here. If fail is in there, we are in fact going to fail the playbook. It's going to be stopped in its tracks so they can either put a backup drive in there because there isn't one, or pull out whatever the redundant is, and they'll see the message that talks about that. If we get past that fail, we're scot-free and we're going to do the deed. Start by creating the directory on the drive, and it says OS drive, but it's just the drive, not the operating system drive. Oh, actually, in our case, it is the operating system drive. That's another story. It's the root directory, so in our case, that's what we need. The directory path is going to be shown here. Permissions are going to be set. It's letting us know via debug what's going on. If there is a directory there, even though we assume there's not going to be anything in it, we're going to unmount it just to start the process. We're going to wipe the drive. This is all just to be on the safe side, make sure we have a perfect understanding of what we've done. We'll make the GPT label. We'll make the ext4 partition. We'll make the partition primary, and so on and so on. And then finally, we will mount that directory to that one drive that is in fact non-ZFS. Now, just to give you an example, I've run the script when in fact it was already mounted. I knew it was already mounted and there was data in it, and as expected, I got the error message that the backup drive is already mounted. This directory already exists on the target system and has data in it. Okay, now for another test, I'm going to take a USB drive, stick it in the server, so that there is in fact a second drive attached, and I'm going to remove that mounted directory and all the data in it so we can give you an example. Okay, and the result was it failed, and it tells us here, fail, we have identified more than one non-ZFS drive that can be used for a backup. It tells us specifically which ones they are, SDA and SDH, and suggests we remove any USBs or other drives that are not to be formatted for purposes of the backup. So it's exactly what we would have expected. So now we'll do the final use case. We're going to pull out that flash drive so there will not be any redundant drives in there. We've already unmounted it. There's nothing there, so this should proceed normally, format, mount, and do everything we need it to do. Okay, and just as expected, it checked if the directory was mounted. It created, in this case, it created the directory. It wiped the drive, made the GPT label, created a new partition, formatted as an ext4 file system, and mounted it to a directory. Now let's take a look and see if the directory has been created and is in fact mounted. And as expected, there's our directory with a lost and found inside of it, and we're done. And that's it. That's how we use Ansible on our client servers, so we can take a look at what needs to be done, put a drive in there, format it, do everything needs to be done without that hands-on process of carrying out every one of those commands manually before we insert the drive into the system, which adds another 15 minutes to each one of these builds. Thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to be first in line or have a front row seat for any of these server-related videos in the future, be sure to click the subscribe button, and if you wish, the like button. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.